Hello, everyone, and welcome to DevForge, the podcast that seeks to embolden your knowledge of game development and potentially help you forge your own path into the industry. I'm your host, Nick Callow, and I'm a freelance artist and tabletop role-playing game designer based out of Chicago, Illinois. On Twitch, I go by the name Level Dead, and you can find me live most nights around 11:30 p.m. Central, working on some art or diving into some of my favorite games. I'm currently working on a tabletop role-playing game entitled Might of the Mountain, and I hope to share updates with you as I continue development. Before we start, I have to let you know the following. This podcast is filmed in front of a live studio audience of zombies, ghouls, goblins, ogres, and confused humans that have taken a wrong turn while heading to the bathroom, which was for sure down the other hallway. We hope you enjoy the show. But we got a couple cool topics to talk about today. We're going to be talking about World of Warcraft, Blizzard, and dreaming big. So we're going to start the night off by talking about topic one, which is World of Warcraft's 16th year anniversary. They just celebrated, or they are currently celebrating. They are currently offering an achievement and a fun little package of goodies in their game. 200 Time Warp badges for those of you who know, whoever plays the game will know what the Time Warp badges are used for. But they're a currency in game that are used to purchase various items. They have a new item that's available, I guess, for some sort of like classic celebration that they have going on as well. I don't know what that item is. I haven't had a lot of time to play at all. I hop into like World of Warcraft Classic every so often, and I play for about maybe the most an hour at any given time. I would love to play more, but I've got to etch out some time for that. What they're also offering is increases to experience and reputation gains, as well as a little bit of like a lore item. You get a letter. You get a letter from the Time Walkers, which starts a new quest. So it's something cool that they added in that kind of just gives a little bit more flavor to everything. There is a return of classic bosses to celebrate the 16th year anniversary. So players level 30 and above can take on previous bosses known as Lord Kazak, Azragos, and one of the 4 Dragons of the Nightmare. I'm not familiar with the Dragons of the Nightmare. I've heard of Azragos and Lord Kazak, but not the Dragons of the Nightmare. For killing the bosses that they bring back, or they have brought back to celebrate, you will gain some loot and some Time Warp badges for your effort. So we've got that. They're also hosting a party in the Caverns of Time, which is a zone in World of Warcraft in, I believe it is Teneris. That's what it's called. But it's deep within the Caverns of Time. They're welcoming players to celebrate in the area, asking them to /dance, play some Khadgar ball soccer, and more. So I don't know what's actually going on in the Caverns of Time other than dungeons that we used to run down there. But personally for me, talking about the World of Warcraft 16th year anniversary, the game has brought me so much joy over the 14-ish, 16-ish years that I've played on and off. I've met a lot of great people, built my social confidence, and it lit ablaze my passion for game development itself. So I've told you guys this many times, how much I owe to Blizzard and how much I owe to World of Warcraft for getting me to where I need to be at this point in time in my life. Of course, I'm not exactly where I want to be, but it's moving me towards that goal. There still are a lot of people on that team that are bringing their passion to their design, or they're bringing passion to the company. So I think we need to hope that Activision Blizzard will loosen their grip over time on these developers. They should allow the developers to show their passion. It's not always about money. It should be about your audience. It's something that I feel like is extremely important. But I think we should still hold out hope for the company. I believe in their Q3 report, they made more profit than they've ever made before. So they're still doing well profit-wise. However, they did shut down a studio to do that well, I guess. But if the studio is not making money, then that makes sense business-wise. But to get rid of the developers that were at that studio is a horrible thing. Any layoff is a horrible thing. So I hope that they can rekindle the passion from people and from the company hemorrhaging and these artists and designers going to other studios. I really do hope that a core team stays around at Blizzard to give us more World of Warcraft, more additions to hopefully World of Warcraft Classic, just support on World of Warcraft Classic as a whole. And I really do hold out hope for Diablo 4, because Diablo 4 looks amazing. And I saw a little tiny peek of that on the next topic that we're going to talk about, which is the Blizzard Fireside chat. I did take a look at the Fireside chat myself, so J. Allen Brack does his best to give us Blizzard information. It is obvious that he is in a tough position. I think we all know that he's in a tough position right now. It's just like anyone moving into a position of power in a studio when you haven't had control of it. You know, it may have veered off in a different direction, and then you're taking a hold of the reins, trying to get it back on track with the overarching and overbearing Activision Blizzard on your back, you know, hanging on, just kind of riding for dear life on your back, hoping for some money along the way. But I'm pretty sure he is a developer at heart, so I think we should give him some time. What I want to mention is that he lets us know in the video that he is a shy introvert, so you can tell from the way that he interacts with people that he's not the face of the company per se, or he never really was the face of the company, and he's trying his best to get into that groove. And you could see that Michael Morheim and them were a lot more comfortable in their shoes. And he is coming up. He worked his way up in the ranks to get to that position. So I feel like we need to give him some time to ease into the chaos that is Blizzard at this moment. So I'm holding out hope for him. I think he's a nice guy from what I've seen and what I've heard about him. But I feel like people give him a little... they don't give him enough credit, you know, for diving into Blizzard in this, you know, flaming inferno that it is right now. And hopefully it doesn't melt, you know, because it's Blizzard. We don't want the snow to melt. We don't want the ice to melt. And you know, with Shadowlands coming along too, that's going to be even crazier for him. Another thing that they mentioned, the first ever BlizzCon was 15 years ago in October 2005. I myself started playing World of Warcraft sometime after its release in November 2004. It might have been December or January. I can't recall the exact month, but I definitely started playing it right when it came out. And oh man, was it fun. And I'm sure that people who are in chat right now, or people who may be watching this on YouTube, can share that passion, that it was amazingly fun when it first started, because no one knew anything about the game, so there was so much more social interaction. It was awesome. Another extremely awesome thing that we talked about, I think it was a little bit last time we were together, was that BlizzCon Line, as they're calling it, will be free to everybody February 19th to 20th. So it's going to be something that I'm going to put on my calendar. I'm going to wait for that, and I'm going to watch every single panel that I possibly can over and over and over and over and over again. That's what I usually do with the BlizzCons, is I will pay for it, and then I'll be in the BlizzCon. Whenever it's live that I can watch it, I'll watch it live. Otherwise, when I get off of work, or if I'm on break at, on lunch, I'll be watching whatever panels that I missed over and over again. You weren't allowed on computers at that time, so you can't share on that fun. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, it's I luckily was given the opportunity to play that game when I was younger, and I thank my parents for that. They allowed me to play a game that they did not realize was a game that you had to pay monthly for, and they saw that I was having fun with it, and my stepdad's like, hey, look, like, if you're having fun with it, I'll pay for it. And so he continued to pay for it until I could eventually pay for it, and then then the rest is history. Another thing I wanted to mention that J. Allen Brack had talked about in the Fireside chat was that over 95% of Blizzard's workforce has shifted to working from home. So I'm sure that is in itself something that is a little crazy for everybody. I know that a lot of their employees would thrive on the interaction between or amongst one another at their studio. And I hope that they don't cut off a lot of the workforce if they're losing any money from shifting to work from home. I would think they might be saving some money from work from home, because they're not spending as much on the light bills and that, I guess, at Blizzard. But we'll see what happens. And then we've got several days before Shadowlands comes out. It looks like Shadowlands was announced for November 23rd, and I'm holding on to my wallet because I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up paying for it, because I need to test out every new version of the game that they release, and Shadowlands does look amazing. The artwork in this expansion looks insane. It always looks better and better, in the world, like It's called the World of Warcraft, or it's called World of Warcraft, not the World of Warcraft, but it is called World of Warcraft strictly because you're looking at the world pretty much 95% of the time. 95% of the global workforce is at home, and 95% of your time is spent looking at the world from the perspective of your hero, or flying above it on your millions of flying mounts. But the world has always looked amazing in the game. Like, it's a character in itself, so it's pretty cool. I'm probably gonna have to try it. I'm excited to experience the new dungeons, raids, and quests that they're gonna have in the game. I know that when I first tried out Legion's leveling, the quests were amazing. The professions were a lot of fun as well too. I remember getting into blacksmithing and having to go to a specific anvil to make these demon steel bars, I think it was, and that was exciting because it harkened back to going to the black anvil in BRD or somewhere around there in Black Rock Mountain. You had to go down there to make the dark iron bars. So I feel like they should keep that in the game because it's something very special for the blacksmiths that are focusing on their profession. So I don't know what I'm going to do this time around, like if I'm going to focus in on blacksmithing. But it might suck me back into the game. We'll have to see what happens. But another thing that they just a quick little peek at is we still don't have too much information on Diablo 4 that's going to be coming out. We don't know when it's going to come out. We don't know how much work is going into it right now, but to me it looks amazing. They're going back to their darker roots, and the game, it just looks incredible. I've seen the skeletons that they were fighting in that, and I could tell that they're like, let's make this super dark and let's make this grungy, and I'm really excited to play it on stream as well. That'll be a lot of fun. Maybe we can get a couple people together to group up and do some questing in that or whatnot. And it seems like it's going to be more of an open world that they mentioned, like transitional scenes instead of, just walking, pretty much you're walking across the whole map. The map exists as is, and then you're just traveling across it. I feel like in the older ones, it did kind of the same thing. From what I can remember in Diablo 2, you just kind of walked across the map and then you ended up in the different zones. But the only time it would like load or anything like that is if you went into a dungeon or if you were fighting a boss or something of that nature. So I wonder if they're going to do that same thing in Diablo 4, or if they're going to have it be seamless where you can walk down into the dungeon and the dungeon is already, the NPCs are already walking about. They're already pathing and doing all that stuff. I don't know how they're going to run it, but I would assume that just to save on, RAM and everything like that, or just to save on hardware from blowing up, they would have you instanced out into the dungeons. But so they also showed some concept art on the stream, and I can definitely say that I have been fighting the urge to want to fix my concept art side of my portfolio. It's something that happens every so often. Is I will stay away from 2D or 3D for a bit to focus on something else. And then I will catch a glimpse of some really cool artwork, whether it be a character, whether it be an environment. I've been seeing a lot of cool concept art on this talk, as well as a lot of cool concept art across my social medias, social media profiles. And I'm getting pretty excited about just artwork in general. And it's a little scary because, I dive around from, do I need to focus on design? Do I need to focus on concept art? Do I need to focus on 3D? What do I need to do? Right now I'm, doing freelance for miniatures. So, that's its own thing, but that's not, video game characters or anything of that nature. So that's not necessarily going to get me on part of a game development team. So, so it's something to think about. But I know that I told myself that I'm very passionate for design work. So I need to really take a step back. I need to constantly take a step back and review my best options for landing a job. So if my best option for landing a job would be to focus on my concept art, or my best option to landing a job would be to focus on my 3D character art, I need to objectively make those decisions. And it's like, if I want a job sooner than later, I need to plan it accordingly. And I need to take some time to plan how to specialize and how to gain a job. Or alternatively, I need to plan, for my own game. If I'm not going to ever make it to a studio, objectively, if I look at my art or if I look at myself and say, okay, well, the way that you function, you're not going to actually make it to a studio, or they're not going to want to hire you, then I need to also plan out a path of how to make my own game as successful as it can be, so that I can make income from that, and then hopefully build up a company and possibly make more income than I would make at a day job, so that way I can strictly focus on game development. But I'm going to keep my doors open for suggestions from you guys, as well as I'm going to keep my door open for my own brain to work its magic. And of course, run these things by Kristen, because she has no problem telling me when I may be wrong. So that's something that I need to do constantly. I just need to keep the ideas flowing and then take a step back, look at everything, and organize it, nice and clean. But another thing that was mentioned during the Fireside chat was Blizzard has been working to implement better reporting systems to combat toxicity. So some of the responses some responses to this reporting system has been that they stated that it ruined the game and that there was no way to prove that the reports were legit. So it has made most games lack that social aspect. So a lot of people are going into, mainly it was Overwatch. So a lot of people are going into Overwatch matches and not even talking anymore, because they feel like someone's going to report them for no reason, and their account will be suspended or banned, or there's penalties that come with it, and they feel like that's going to happen. So there have been some responses that stated that's how it is, because again, there's no way, based on what this person is saying, is there was no way to prove that the report was legit. We all know it is the social aspect that was the height of World of Warcraft's popularity and is what made it so special in all of our hearts. For those of you who have played World of Warcraft, or for those of you who have read about people who have played it. And I think the only way I can see them fixing the toxicity report thing is by having dedicated teams that would review all of these reports, all of the text, all of the audio logs. That's really the only way that I could see them ever legitimizing what these reports are going to be. But that would be so much manpower, so many man hours to devote to keeping an eye on all of this stuff. But that's really the only way I could see to legitimize any of the reports. But when I used to play, this is just an example. When I used to play Dota 2, I always strived to be helpful. And what they had in their game was they had like a recommendation system. So when people would play with somebody they liked, they would give you points for like teaching or communicating or being like a mentor, etc. And then you would gain those points on your account. So when you would enter a game, people could look at you and say, okay, well, this guy's pretty helpful. So that they've been giving him points towards that. Or, it would give you more of that incentive to be like, okay, this game, I'm going to help someone learn how to play the game, or I'm going to mentor or communicate as best as I can in the safest manner that I can, so that way I can get points put towards my account to say that I'm good or whatnot. Of course, that could be exploited, where people could go in and say, hey guys, give me points for communicating, teaching, mentoring, and I'll give you 50,000 follows or something like that. People could mess that up pretty bad, but I think that it was a good way to incite some form of politeness in the game, and at least it helped us for the group of people that I was playing with. But overall, for topic 2, for the Blizzard Fireside Chat, I'm wishing J. Allen Brack and the team at Blizzard the best. Topic 3. So topic 3 is separated a little bit from what we've been talking about with World of Warcraft and with Blizzard. This is something that is more of like kind of a free flow topic. So topic number 3 is dream big and live healthy. So dream big and live healthy. This is something that I would say that I've been heavily inspired by a podcast that I've been listening to recently, or recently again, because I listened to it quite a while back and then I took a break from it, came back to it. But it is called 3 Point Perspective. You guys should definitely check it out on iTunes. I listen to it on iTunes, at least. It's in a bunch of other areas, I believe. But it is Jake Parker. There's 3 illustrators that are basically part of this podcast. So there's Jake Parker, Will Terry, and Lee White. Those are the 3 illustrators. And they make a living doing illustration for mainly children's books. And so I take little bits of what they talk about and I apply it to everything that I do. And a lot of it makes sense for, even if you're not doing illustration work, their principles that they're talking about apply to mostly everything that you do. So I would recommend taking a look at it or taking a listen, and then maybe taking some pieces from it and applying it to your life. So we're talking about dreaming big. That's something that they talked about on their podcast. And so I felt like it was important to bring up to you guys because it's a really good topic. I feel it's extremely helpful to dream, dreaming big, dreaming medium, and dreaming small. So you should have these grandiose dreams, these huge dreams that are like, I want to run my own game studio. Maybe I want to write 1,000 books, 100 books, draw your own comic series, or simply release your own video game. And then you should have these medium to small dreams, which would be something that will aid your bigger dreams on a smaller scale. I often organize my dreams into more tangible goals, Might of the Mountain, things I've made for that, or several new paintings for my portfolio, or several new sculpts for my portfolio. Because if I'm working on Might of the Mountain, that could go towards my grandiose dream of dream is to be one of the greatest designers. Wait a second. Hold that thought. We're going to get into that in a second. It's hard to make a following on YouTube. Yeah, I'm not expecting to make a huge following. This is just something that I'm going to slowly build over time. So, but yeah, we can dive into the next section of that. So we were just finishing up talking about organizing your dreams into more tangible goals. So that is something I recommend. Have this big dream, then have some small dreams underneath that will start to, etch away at your bigger dream. Think of that game that, you have that little pong piece that moves across the bottom, and then a ball kind of bounces from the bottom to the top and starts breaking the bricks, all across the top. I don't know the name of the game, but that is your big dream. And then everything you're hitting down there is a small, tangible goal that you've organized. But dreams keep you in a positive mental state. And so thinking of that passion project and seeing that you can organize the smaller dreams into achievable goals makes the big dream seem like a possibility. If you just say, okay, this is my big dream, and then you don't do any little goals to kind of etch away at it, then you're going to be like, okay, well, this big dream may never happen. I guess it's just if you're never working towards that big dream, you're never going to feel like it's going to happen. But, just having those small attainable goals will get you in much more of a positive mental state. Keeps your mind from going to the dark zone, dark or depressive thoughts. It keeps those at bay for the most part, or for a portion of the time. There's always going to be those days that are horrible. There's always going to be the time you're working on art that you think you're the worst. There's always going to be times where you're working on development and you're like, this game's never going to see the light of day. But with those bigger dreams in mind, if you take a step back, like I do most times, take a step back and look at the dream and just say, okay, this is definitely something that I could do. It's just going to take some time, and then recollect your thoughts and dive right back into it. It will help out. It'll keep you in a more positive mental state more often. And if I did not allow myself to dream, I would be in a constant state of self-turmoil, is what I'm basically getting at. But I'd love to hear what dreams you guys have. Feel free to post them in chat, and we can discuss them. Otherwise, I will make a post on Twitter, and you can respond there. So I'm going to make a post on Twitter at the end of this. Love to hear what dreams you guys have. I will go into a couple of them, maybe chat about them for a second, and then we'll dive into Might of the Mountains update, quick update for this week. And for those of you that see this beautiful game back here, this game was given to me for free by Eddie from the Gaming Goat. If you're part of my Discord, you will see a picture of me holding it. It's super heavy, really awesome game. I'm working with the sculptor who worked on some of the models from here for a freelance project that we're currently working on. So it's just back here. My dream is to be the biggest game designer from the U.S. I want to be the GOAT of fighting games and single-player games. That's definitely a huge goal, and that is something to for sure strive for, to be the biggest game designer from the U.S. It's going to be really difficult to be the biggest game designer from the U.S., but definitely keep that in mind. Keep it in mind, and then build those small, attainable goals to get to that state of being the biggest and the best, fighting game and single player game creator out there. I think it's going to take a strong team behind you to get that done for sure. You admire great writers. I'd love to have some poetry published, or at least a somewhat popular self-published work. Okay, I was not. Yeah, I mean that's definitely a for sure attainable goal. I could see writing a small book of poetry, or self-published work. So that could be really anything. So you're more into writing. Like would you write like a novel or a short story, or mainly poetry? Because I could see all that stuff happening and getting self-published. I'm not too familiar with the process of self-publishing, but Dark Hearts Rising in chat has been writing his own book too, and he might be someone to chat with about that for sure. Starting with poetry, I'm too self-critical for longer stuff right now. I just rip myself apart. That's most artists, so you're not alone in that. You're gonna be. I mean, it sounds cliche, but you are your worst, critic. You're gonna tear yourself down a lot of times because you look at other artists or other. Let's say you're looking at Edgar Allan Poe, right? Or you're looking at who are other poets. I mean, I know Edgar Allan Poe. Okay, let's just say you're looking at Edgar Allan Poe and comparing your work to his. The classics: Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. There you go. But if you're looking at those poets, you're never going to be that artist. You're never going to be that poet. But you can be yourself, right? You can write poetry, for yourself or for other. You can write it for yourself and for other people. But of course, poetry usually, I believe, has a story or some sort of root in, some sort of subject that you're talking about. So, it's something that you can definitely achieve. You just need to look at it on a smaller level. And, you can strive to be like somebody, but you're never going to be exactly them. It's the same with me with concept art or 3D modeling and that. I see these other artists and I'm like, geez, this artwork is insane. I want to be just like them. But then you try to be like them and your stuff kind of looks similar, but not exact. And it creates your own style. Same with your poetry, most likely. It's like you're going to see someone else's poetry, take some things from them, take some things from another person, and it'll become your own, I think with me, though, I always make super impossible goals. Yeah, I mean, since something you need to look at is trying to maybe make a goal that's one step beneath that. So make that impossible goal, then make a goal just beneath it, or talk with a group of people and take a look at those impossible goals that you created, and we can work together. Even in my Discord, if you want to get together, we could take a look at those goals and say, okay, let's take one step back from that impossible goal that may be impossible or may take like 60, 70 years. And by the time you're 80, 90 years old, 100 years old, you're going to be done with that goal, but take a step back and make it more attainable. We could definitely do that. That big artist, author, game designer probably envisioned the big boys too, but they're their self and made something their own, like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. So to mention in terms of that, what I've noticed is you're much more content with yourself if you get to a point where you stop caring about what other people are seeing from your work. When you get to a point where you're just making the work, or you're just creating the art or writing poetry or writing a book or writing game design for yourself and just to enjoy it, overall people just start flocking to you. I've started to do that for myself. I've started to develop Might of the Mountain and just say, okay, this is for me. I'm going to make this amazing game for myself and just have fun with it with my small group of friends. And then from there, hopefully people will come around. Or I'm going to make artwork for myself to be the coolest it can be and take a look at my older artwork and make sure that I'm just better than my older artwork. Not, am I that person? Am I this person? Of course, you can compare yourself to them, but the more you compare yourself to them, the worse off you're going to be in terms of mental state. You need to say, okay, cool, I compared myself. Definitely some improvements need to be made. But am I better than where I was yesterday? That's why I'm making A-Way for me and my friends. And if someone else hates it, cool story, bro. It's my game. Yeah. And if someone loves it, cool. Get in here and enjoy. Exactly. So create it for a small group of people. And at least you'll have a published work that you can then move on to the next project and say, okay, I'm going to learn some stuff from what I did on AOA. And we're going to learn something here on the next project that we do. And then you'll build that following that'll hopefully follow you along into the next stage. Yeah, but, guys, allow yourself to dream big. Allow yourself to dream medium. Allow yourself to dream small. It will keep you in much more of a positive mindset. And then start doing things for yourself. You can do things for other people still. Just try to do something for yourself, something small, and then build your self-worth up, Dream big, but keep yourself grounded in reality. Exactly. Be able to take a step back and look at yourself objectively and say, listen, this is not good. Like for myself. Go look at my website and I could say, okay, Nick, this whole 2D section here, it needs to be redone. This is garbage. Get rid of it. It's old. Get it out of there. Hey, Nick, this whole 3D section, it's garbage. It's old. Get it out of here. Be able to look at yourself and say, you're not the best of the best. You're not hot shit, you know? You're a human just like everybody else. And that's how I get into, when I go into job interviews now, too. There was something that I read a long while back, or something that I heard about conventions, going to conventions and talking to your favorite game developers. And they just stated, these guys are just, they're people too. They're not celebrities, right? They are celebrities in their own right, but they're just people. They're just humans like you. And most of the time you get your networking from just talking to one another as humans. So don't go in there and be like, oh my God, you're the greatest person ever. And like, oh my God, this, all this stuff you did at this place is awesome. You just want to be like, hey, how's it going? Everything you do is awesome. Hey, do you want a drink? I could buy you something from over here or whatever. Like most of the time that's like the normal interaction. Yeah, we're all people, except for those lizard people that are amongst us, if you believe in that stuff. But yeah, so let's get into the Might of the Mountain update. So those of you who are with me on Monday, most of the times Mondays at 11:30 p.m. Central, I do work on Might of the Mountain, which is my tabletop role-playing game. As far as this week, I should still be on to work on that. However, as we get closer to deadlines per month for my freelance projects, we may have to postpone some of those Might of the Mountain workshops, and we may have to replace that with freelance because I have to finish 5 more sculpts for this month. And they're more complex sculpts right now, so it's going to take me a little bit more time, especially with my full-time job that I'm working at. So it's something that I will keep you guys updated on Twitter as well as Discord. But getting into the Might of the Mountain update, so most recently we completed the basic weapons list set, and we tested the creation of several base weapons with little to no issues. More work will be needed to test crafting improvement, enhancements to weapons through the use of professions. So once I start to create recipes that will tie back to the basic weapons list and improve those, then we're going to get more of a free flow feel to it. But we also completed the basic armor list, tested creation of multiple pieces of armor with little to no issues, and the minimum armor points right now in the game are 10, or is 10 when you have no armor on, and the maximum is 70 on base armor. So once you have plate armor, it's going to be 70 is the max that you can have on that until you do augments or enhancements with your professions. And the overall maximum armor points should not exceed 125, which it may change. It's just based on the rolls. So there's going to be some bonuses that come with rolls, maybe on special weapons. And I want to just, combat that by having a max set to 125. So in the case you roll 25 higher than 100, then you have a method of still being hit, I also added example armor sets into the game. Think tier sets from like World of Warcraft, items that exist in the game that are directly attached to lore or to the environment itself. These are items that you can give players from quests instead of them crafting them, because again, the game is it's really focused in on crafting, and if you don't use crafting, you're going to be missing out on some stuff. However, you can still give players items from quests, or you can have people focus on adventuring where they're not doing the professions, but they have to pay a higher amount to people who focus in on professions. So if you have a player who comes into the game and it's like, hey, look, I'm a baller, I've got 2 professions that I've worked really hard on, then your other players may have to pay them money for them to make certain things for them in game. That's the whole feel I want to get for it. Is the traders and the merchants in that and the craftsmen are going to be the top tier of the game, even like above probably kings in that, but like they might be just beneath kings because kings will have a rule of certain aspects of the game, but they may have craftsmen that work for them that are artisans that will be very important to the game. Then recently I have started a MailChimp account. For those of you who don't know what MailChimp is, it is like a newsletter service. You can send out emails to an email list. And I will slowly begin organizing towards getting myself an email list. I'm planning for monthly Might of the Mountain email updates. These monthly updates would lead up to the release date of the game. Keep it interesting, or I'm going to try to keep it interesting and try to get people involved with providing feedback. I just learned today from 3-Point Perspectives podcast that I should probably include with signing up for the newsletter. That's when you get the free playtest guide, so that way I can keep people involved. Some people may sign up for the newsletter, get the free playtest guide, and then dip out. But most of the people who will get the newsletter or who will sign up for the newsletter will then provide feedback, hopefully from the playtest guide that I'm going to be giving them. But another thing is I may recreate the Might of the Mountain landing page. Right now I've been creating it in Google Sites, which isn't something that I normally use. But I have a Squarespace account, and I believe I can create multiple websites within Squarespace. And then I could just buy a domain and set up that domain to the Squarespace website. And I can even set up a shop on there as well through Squarespace. So there's a bunch of different things that I've done for my personal website through there that I can use for Might of the Mountains landing page. So it will allow me for more customization there. So that'll be awesome. And then just a reminder to myself, Nick, hey, listen, I know you're listening from the future, and I know you're going to be watching this while you're listening to me, past Nick, while you're editing this. So just remember, a reminder to yourself, minimum viable product. Keep an eye on minimum viable product when you're working on Might of the Mountain. Alrighty, so with that being said, guys, that is the last bit of the update that I have for Might of the Mountain. I'm still currently in development of it, and we will still consider it, I guess, the alpha stage, because there is a playable PDF that is on my site, but it's got a lot of grammatical errors and things of that nature. It's a little bit older, it's a little bit dated, doesn't have spells in it. It has some like spells that don't have really explanations, things of that nature. So you can still play with what's in there. It's just that you don't have everything, So, but I'm going to keep pushing forward on this playtest guide and hopefully get that newsletter and the landing page all set up to the point where I can give that playtest guide out. You guys can run some games, play some games, give me some feedback. We can keep working on it until I get to my release. But we're going to open the floor. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to post them live here on Twitch, or feel free to message me or tag me on Twitter at LevelDead. So yeah, Q&A time. It's usually a fun little area. Oh, and one other thing I want to mention is on my Patreon, I have started to post more behind the scenes imagery, more behind the scenes commentary, more so just a little peek into my personal life on top of my development life, because you guys hear a lot about, oh, Might of the Mountain this, Might of the Mountain that, Might of the Mountain this, and these things that I'm trying to work on, these jobs I'm trying to get. But it's more of like, hey, here's some meal prep stuff. Hey, here's maybe some workout stuff that I'm doing. Just little things like that. Or maybe if I go out and we take a walk, I take a picture of something and give you guys a little bit of feedback on what I think about things out in the world. I actually breathe real air. I don't know if you guys know this, but I do go outside and breathe real air. I'm not just inside all the time. It may seem like it, but I'm not inside all the time. Is it just percentage dice? Well, so majority of the game is D10s, D10 system. So you're rolling 1 D10 and 1 percentile die to get your outcome for most things. However, there's mixtures of other die in there for damage, healing, damage over time, for weapon lists, armor lists. Those things use more of a smaller list, so you don't need a D100 because we're not going to have a list of 100 things right off the bat. That will be something that will come later, so we can always switch it over to lists of 100 items, and then you roll a D100. However, it's just easier to keep it lower down. D10s, D8s, D20s. The normal D&D dice set. I use the normal dice set from D&D. Anything from a D4 up to a D20. So the reason I'm doing that is because most people have the normal D&D dice set. I don't use like D2s or anything like that. So if they already have the dice for it, then why not use what we have there? But yeah, majority of it's a D100 system. Yeah, I'll talk about in the book what die it would be best for you to have, but majority of it's just a D4, a D6, a D8, D10, percentile die, D12, D20. That would be what you need for the set. But mainly you'd be holding in your hand those 2 D10s with the D10 and the percentile die. That's what you're going to be doing mainly. Whoosh, 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 rolling. This is a tabletop RPG system, right? Yes, this is going to be a tabletop role-playing game. Very similar to Dungeons & Dragons. That's what I can relate it to. But the focus is on crafting, some focus on building fortresses, and traveling the world, changing the demographic the world itself, just being able to have an effect on it. Will you be doing minis with the Might of the Mountain set? As of right now, I have no plans for making miniatures for the game because it's just too time consuming on top of the design work that I'm going to have to do and the artwork that I'm going to have to do currently. However, we can plan for maybe some stretch goals. I could plan for, like if we reach a certain stretch goal that will allow me enough time to invest in making some quality miniatures for the game, then maybe we'll do that. I currently have plans to make a limited run of special edition books that I personally would love to do, where we have more of like that faux leather cover, potentially faux leather cover, and I want to embellish it with some gemstones on the front, like some custom gemstones that we get or whatever, like basically colorful rocks that we can put on the front, because Might of the Mountain's all about these gems, and it's all about the earth and what these gems do for magic and whatever it is. And so it'd be cool to have a set amount of those books that are, for people who do early backing, they get those, whereas the rest of them are kind of just, the normal books, Have you thought about putting it on Drive-Thru RPG? I'm not sure if they are the right medium for this, though. Yes, so I've used Drive-Thru RPG when I ran my tabletop website, and we were going to use it for more of like adventure guides. And that I have an account on there where, like, if you buy through my link, that I get like a percentage of the purchase. However, my plan is to release a PDF version of the game, of the base rules and of the supplement or expansion, on Drive-Thru RPG or a similar website, and sell it for a reduced price than the book would be. So think like $10, $15 for the game. Anywhere from 10 to 20, probably 10 to 15 sounds more accurate for the PDF version. And then, for the full-fledged book, it would be like 50, 60. Sometimes it could be less, depending on what my cost to make the book is going to be. Are you also doing an illustrated monster manual? As of right now, with the creation of creatures in the game, I would love to. I would like to do an illustrated monster manual of some sort. I don't know if I'm going to separate the book just yet. It may be included in the back portion of the book. Like, these are the creatures you can use, and then we're going to have a creature creation system to make customized creatures. However, as of right now, to get the minimum viable product, I may have to leave those illustrations out for the monsters and have illustrations through the rest of the book. However, if there's, like, maybe we illustrate not every monster, maybe we have the description in there, and then we will illustrate majority of what we have in there. But if we reach a certain stretch goal, maybe we'll do a full illustrated monster manual for the game. But yeah, Darkheart Rising is a good question, really good question. I would love to do an illustrated monster manual of some sort. However, I need to get into making the monsters, seeing how complex they're going to be, and then look at my entire timeline and make sure that I can match that. I don't want to go over my timeline because I've already went over my timeline with picking up this contract. Yeah, and then drawing all those is going to be hell for you. Exactly. I mean, I need to get to a point in my illustrative career where I can make an illustration every day, right? I need to be able to finish a quality illustration each sit down within 4 hours, within 8 hours. I need to be able to make something that can be put into the book. So that way, let's say I have to plan for, let's just say minimum, let's say 40 illustrations, 40 to 60 illustrations, which is being light on it. Then that's a month, a little over a month to make that if I do an illustration per day. Or let's say it's 2 months of work would be for illustrating the entire book, 40 to 60 illustrations or whatnot. Let's give me 3 months to do that, but that's super condensed, right? That's saying if I had the best day ever and I was every single day illustrating to the best of my ability and finishing an illustration per day, then we could finish that, But I need to streamline my process so that way it's as easy as possible. And I think that's why I was going to be looking at the style of the way I was going to be illustrating, whether it's going to be just pencil work that's going to get put into the book, so that way I could save myself some time with not having to paint the full thing, or if it was going to be, listen, digital is much faster, do a rough, splat painting, and then, refine it with drawing the lines in and that. I think that I have the ability to do so. I just need to unlock whatever it is in my mind that is blocking me from getting to that point. You said something earlier about this system having a lot of merchanting mechanics, merchants becoming greater than kings or something like that. I'm all about tycoon stuff. I'm not too familiar with normal tabletop RPG systems. How is that different? Sorry for the wall of text. You're all good. I was just mentioning that I want players to feel like they can be merchants themselves. So like if someone is a blacksmith or if someone is an alchemist in the game, I want you to be able to say, okay, I'm going to go out into the forest, collect some herbs, collect some mushrooms, make these potions, go into town, sell to these commoners, right? I'm going to sell these potions, use my appeal to sell it at a higher price, or go to these kings and try to set up these trade routes. And this is just all through player interaction and game master interaction of like, hey, I want to set up a trade route through your kingdom, so please give me the ability to do that. And then the king says, well, we're not going to allow you to do a trade route until you clear out this den of orcs, here, because this trade route's going to be drawing in these orcs. They're going to want all your alchemy potions, and they're going to want to kill all of my villagers, and they're going to kill my guards, so things like that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just the idea of creating this living, breathing world and using your professions to do so. So I've had players who focused in on cooking, and what they did was they would go into an inn, they would sit down with the innkeeper, talk to them. Hey, can I work in your inn? Can I make some bread for you? Can I cook some food for your patrons? Things like that. And then they learned how to make a rat tail stew or something of that nature. And they had to actually go into the the cellar and kill these rats, collect these rats, bring them upstairs, and then they're like, hey, we're not going to throw these rats out. We're going to make a rat tail stew for our patrons, and then they teach you how to do it. That's sick. How much of this is the responsibility of the DM to generate, and how much is built into the rules and adventures? So I feel like we're going to build kind of the bones of it, the structure of it, of saying, okay, well, these are some examples of what you can do. However, feel free to go crazy with it. So I think some of the things that I mentioned to you guys here is what I need to include in the book in those sections. So it's like encourage your players to become merchants themselves. Encourage your players to use their professions to their advantages or to their advantage. Encourage your players to do this and that, and it'll show like little sections in the game master section of like, this is what I would do as a game master to make the game more fun. This is what I would do as a game master to reel in something that is too complex, things of that nature. So that way you can look at, what my examples are and take the bare bones and start to fill those bones, stuff the bones with stuff and start to taxidermy it together into some sort of creature, Speaking of which, I was thinking of throwing cooking into AOA, but I thought it might just be a little daunting with the thousands of possible ingredients to manage. How would you do it? So limit your ingredients, limit your ingredients of the way that I'm going about it. So if you take a look at my game, so we're going to open up the visual expanse to YouTube for you guys to see this. For those of you who are listening to this, if I ever make it just a audio podcast, you may not be able to see this, but just keep in mind, I'm going to be opening up my design documents essentially for Might of the Mountain to show just a little bit of the harvesting materials that we have. But to get into your question of how would you manage thousands of possible ingredients? All right, so if you take a look, we've got, for example, harvesting list nodes here. Don't want to steal 100%, but yeah. So the thing is, like, I have an idea for what I want to do for it. And, if you steal it, I'll just do it better. That's what I was saying before. So it's all good. I know what I'm doing here, and I know what I want to get from it. You're not going to get the same feeling that I'm going to have in my game, that's for sure. Yeah. Okay, so the way that I would do it. So, for example, mining nodes, right? We have mining nodes, we have stoneworking nodes. So I have it set to a limited amount, right? I have level ranges. So I have level 1 to 5. We've got 3 sections here. These are simple ones: copper, cassiterite, which is tin, and iron. So those are super common things that most people have in their RPGs. Then you have more rare items that are like more World of Warcrafty, right? You have silver ore, mithril. Then you have silver ore, gold ore, mithril, thorium, all of that stuff from 5 to 10. Then you've got, your epics, you've got your legendaries, so Spectrite, Dragon's Flame, Frost Iron, Blood Iron. So you've got those things. Then what happens from this point is I will then go into recipe making, right? I myself will say, okay, I need 10 recipes for blacksmithing. What am I going to use from these mining nodes to make those 10 recipes? Then I have to say, okay, cool. So, it's a level 1 to 5 recipe, and I'm going to be using copper, cassiterite, iron. So I need to use, maybe I'm going to make a copper dagger, right? Or a bronze dagger. So you need, 5 pieces of copper, 5 pieces of tin, and then you're going to need something from the carpentry nodes. So you're going to need 5 pieces of copper, 5 pieces of tin. Carpentry nodes, you go and you need, maybe cedar, pine, spruce, fir. You just need wood of some sort. So I'm going to keep it as simple as I can make it, right? So I'm going to say, you're going to need to make a bronze dagger. You're going to need copper, tin, and then you're going to need some piece of wood. So it'll just say copper, tin, wood. It'll say exactly what you need. And then let's say, I want to make it more complex and say, okay, well, you need something from herbalism, right? You need like marble lace or something to make this specific dagger. It'd be like a marble lace bronze dagger. And so that would be its own recipe. So then you put that in the game. Then people could say, okay, once I get 5 pieces of copper, 5 pieces of tin, and I get myself a piece of wood, and I get myself some marble lace, I can then attempt to craft this marble lace dagger. But the way to do it to where you need to, you're going to limit it. It's see how many pieces of items that there are in the game. It's up to your game master, right? So if the players want to say, I want to gather mithril, gold, silver, iron, mix it all together with limestone, sandstone, gypsum, and all this stuff and try to make something, cool, you try to make that, but, it just, all this stuff melts together. It doesn't really make anything special. It doesn't really work. You can tell them that things fail. You can tell them that things just don't work together, things of that nature. So, all right. So here's a question for you then. I'm sure you have survival mechanics like eating and drinking required for food. Is there any other benefit besides that and selling the meals? So for me in particular, the way that cooking works in my game is there's an ability recharge. So as of right now, with the way the game works, and there's going to be more added benefits and changes that go into it. There are ability recharges. So in D&D, you use an ability. You have to sleep for 8 hours or sleep for 4 hours, whatever it is. And then from there, you gain your abilities back. Well, in my game, there's a ability recharge timer or something. So let's say it's 8 hours to recharge something in normal D&D, right? A long rest is 8 hours, right? So in my game, there's being well fed, right? So like World of Warcraft, you become well fed, you get some stat bonus or something. So there's being well fed. You eat a specialized meal that makes you well fed, and then your recharge timer is reduced. So on a normal basis, let's say it takes you 16 hours to recharge something when you're not well fed, when your stomach's hungry, or when you're thirsty or whatever, then it's going to increase that timer. So that way you have to constantly eat these good pieces of food, things like that. And ultimately, all it is it's simplified down to you eat good food, something good happens to you. Whether that's going to be you eat good food and it makes you faster, or you eat good food and it makes you stronger, or you eat good food and it makes your mana regen faster. Those things, they have those in games already. You're just borrowing them from those games, the ideas, and you're applying it to yours or increasing or augmenting what's already out there. You're never going to be 100% unique, and it's just something fun to have in the game. You want the cooks to feel important. Certain cooks in my game are going to have to make like certain meats and that to give to fishermen to then be able to go out and fish for legendary fish. Or you're going to have to be able to cook a certain type of meal to combat maybe a certain disease or a curse that's in the game. And only those specialized cooks can make those. And if you don't have one of those cooks in your party, that's a whole quest chain in itself. Hey, we need to go fix Jimmy's rotting nose disease that he has, and the only way he can fix that is by eating some Strelnaran berries or something like that in the fortress of Gimblegar. I don't know, just going way off into the distance, and then Gimblegar is like the specialized cook who's sitting up there and saying, I've got some Strelnaran berries, but I don't have enough for you. You need to bring me some. And then you bring him some Strelnaran berries. He mushes them up, makes them into this paste that he applies on your nose. You have to eat it or whatever because he's a specialized cook, but you have to pay him so much money to fix your disease, whereas if you would have had a cook who learned that recipe or worked his way up to that, then you wouldn't have to spend that much money, So that's the idea. But good questions, guys. Any other questions for me about Might of the Mountain or anything else in general? Well, that's not good. All right, guys, I got to end the show a little bit earlier or put a BRB up. Hold on one second. There's some broken glass. BRB. Sorry. Now I will say okie dokie, I'm back. Because I'll need this for the YouTube video. All right, what did I miss while I was gone? But yeah, so one of our wedding picture things fell down. It has our wedding invitation and some flowers from that day. And it just happened to fall off the wall because we had Halloween decorations all over the place before. And I think what happened is over time, the Velcro strips on the back of it loosened up, with the expansion and that with heat. I hear them playing with something, and I hope it's not part of that thing. But, I'm pretty sure that with us pulling any decorations out, it might have grazed it and loosened it up a little bit. And what happened is the thing is heavy, so it probably ripped off the wall, and it fell and broke. As far as I'm aware, there were no cats that were on that thing or around it because Nim came from inside of the room. She was sleeping. Sucks it broke. Yeah, it fell down. The glass shattered from the front and it shattered into bigger pieces. So I collected as much as I could, and then I had to put it in a garbage bag to keep it safe from the cats going around and messing with it. But I think they found something else. Hey. Yeah, they found pieces. They found pieces of it, see? Speak of the devil, exactly right. They came out when it's all over the floor. I heard them playing around with it, so I knew they found something. I just don't want them stepping on any glass. So I sweeped up the area as best as I could, and I don't believe there's any glass because it broke into mainly bigger shards. Projected release dates. Okay, let me pull up in my handy dandy notebook here. God, guys, I need more post-it notes. Get your butt out of here. She loves tearing up paper. Oh, man. Oh, you know what? It's after this. What am I thinking of? It's right here. I did have a post-it note. I had a post-it note on it all along, this thing here. Alrighty. So my business structure. So this is including Might of the Mountain as well. But my business structure, or 2-year goal, I'll be 30 in 2 years. So I want to make sure that Might of the Mountain is released by the time I'm 30 and fully playable in a nice little book. So step number one is complete freelance done by March or April of 2021. So that's when my freelance is going to be fully done. Then I'll have free reign to do whatever I will. Continue development of Might of the Mountain after that. So we're going to be making sure the landing page is as secure and complete as can be. Give the free playtesting guide out to those who will sign up for the newsletter. Include a starter adventure if possible. And it's probably going to have to be in there, but include a starter adventure. I need to have MailChimp already running with multiple monthly with a monthly newsletter. Then, so this is all happening early 2021, right? So then restructure and improve Patreon. So I need to start doing monthly video updates, do simplification of the reward structure that's on there, remove and reduce tiers. So we already removed some of these. So we removed the early bird special on there. There's no need for that. I may also remove my $20 tier, which is the Q&A tier, because we're kind of doing a Q&A here on stream, but that was more of like a monthly get together on Google Hangouts or Discord to where you guys can ask me questions about your career, and you may want to get like little assignments. I could give you little projected assignments to improve you as a 2D artist or as an illustrator. Or sorry, 2D artist and a 3D artist. Then, so we have 4 is finish Might of the Mountain's design plus the character sheets, lay it out in InDesign, and leave room for art. So that should be finished by the end of June 2021. So that's the projected goal for the finalization of Might of the Mountain's design and character sheets. So that should be finished by the end of June 2021. So as I'm reaching that point, I need to make sure that I am reaching an end to my design process. Then 5 is we're going to start Might of the Mountain artwork. So we're starting that at the end of June 2021. June 2021 with the finalization of the design work. Then we start up the artwork, which we're going to be working on until November 2021. So that gives us July, August, September, October, November. 5 months to produce all the artwork we're going to need for that. And like I was stating before, based on the amount of artwork we have, that might push us back a little bit further. So these are tentative, timelines. They might be pushed back a little further. We're going to adjust them to get that minimum viable product. So that's the whole idea is by come June, we need to remove anything that doesn't need to be in the initial state of the game, the initial launch of the game. For the minimum viable product, we need to get that out there, ready to go. And the artwork, we need to make sure that it is attainable. I cannot put together a huge list of artwork to do and have it not be attainable by November, because if I do that, then I'm going to shoot myself in the foot. However, if it's needed, we'll do it. I just want to try to stick as strictly to these goals as I can. By end of 2021, early 2022, I'd like to launch my LLC, which is going to be strictly like a game development studio, tabletop centric to start with. When funds are sustainable and growth is rising, possibly work on video games. That's just a potential. But that would be, I would have to hire people on. I can't just do it myself. I can possibly do it myself, but that's going to be an even longer process than it would be for Might of the Mountain. So that's just an if. That's too much work, exactly. Getting a full business going. Yes, that's the plan. So if no one's going to hire me, I'm going to make my own business. That's just ultimately what it comes down to. What if you get more side jobs that impact your Might of the Mountain? So the idea is after this freelance gig is I'm not taking any more side jobs. So we're pausing freelance work after this. I have my commissions currently closed, and I only took this because it was a huge, it was pretty much a huge payday for myself to get me set up for if I apply at a company and I need to move somewhere, that will be a portion of a down payment towards a home or a condo. So it had to be done. And it was the perfect timing around the time that I applied at the game studio that I've been talking to you guys about. And I felt confident in that process. And if I were to go out at the projected time that, would be if I were hired on, because I haven't gotten word on anything yet, but that would be a portion towards, a payment towards a home of where we're going to be going. And we'd need to do that. We'd need to pay for a home when we're out there, because having an apartment would just kill you. But the idea for launching the Might of the Mountain Kickstarter is I would love to launch by March 2022. So that's when I would like to launch the Kickstarter. However, we'll have to see how the year goes. The LLC should produce small free tabletop games and should be hopefully funded by Patreon. So the idea is create a bunch of little small games. This is so after Might of the Mountain is done, the idea is that I want to still work on my design chops. So we're going to be making some small games that are free for people on Patreon. Or free for people, on my website. And then from there, if people want to support me on Patreon because of the free stuff that I'm doing, then they can do so. Release it 2030. No. We're not going to be doing that. That would be way too long. Yeah, the goal is to release 2022 and have a successful Kickstarter launch. The idea is we want to have everything ready to roll by that time. You're looking at 2021 release. Yeah, I was initially looking at 2021. And if I can get ahead of everything for 2020 release or 2021 release, I will. But it's only going to be, I'm just planning right now for a 2022 release because I feel like that is more appropriate with the way that my lifestyle is happening with, working at Geek Squad and also doing work at home. So the work at home will transition from freelance work to my own personal design work. And the idea is that I could spend about 4 hours a night after work working on my own stuff. And then on days off, I could spend anywhere from 4 to 12 hours if need be, if I'm really digging into it. But I want to also have a nice work-life balance. So, and then when the artwork comes around, that's going to be fun too, because I'll be able to stream that. But there might be moments in my production of everything that I'm going to have to pause the streams for a moment, just for a day or two, and focus in on the artwork, because if I'm too distracted sometimes, then I'm going to move my goals back a bit. Another thing I could do is, if I want to bring my goals up further, like release sooner, is I can outsource some of the artwork, right? So if I do majority of my artwork, I would love to do all of my artwork, right? But if I'm looming on a 2021 release, or I want to release in 2021, or if I want to release earlier 2022, then I can always hire some people in to do some artwork for me. Like, let's say I don't want to do all of my creatures, right? I want them to draw the creatures. Or if I don't want to do every single one of my character illustrations, have them do something. Or just be as simple as outsourcing, like, the bags. Like let's say I'm drawing random items, weapons, or bags, or tools, things like that. Outsource that so people can draw these simpler items and just give them a nice description. I need to find me an artist I can work to death for AOA. Yeah, that's what I'm going to be working myself to death for my game. So I want to make sure that I have some decent illustrations. They don't have to be perfect. And that's something that I need to look at as well, is just, hey, look, just get some decent artwork out there, I want them to be good illustrations because I want them to be used for my website. However, yeah, you got to hit up Fiverr. You could do that as well. Yeah, I mean, I can hit up Fiverr. You can hit up Fiverr. Anyone can do that and find some good illustrators out there. But it's nice to know how to do it yourself too. But you don't want to kill yourself by going through the process of doing everything yourself if you can't handle it. You just need to make sure to plan it accordingly. But yeah, can't draw. Yeah, luckily I had some experience throughout my my school work, going from design all the way through 2D and 3D. So I'm lucky enough to have that opportunity to be able to do most of the stuff myself. That's why I was like, let's make a tabletop RPG game, because I can do this. But yeah, Squid, I want to make a business. It would be nice to be able to run something small, even, just to make small little games for, $5, $10, or for free. Not necessarily video games to start with. It's going to be more of like pen and paper games. And then as I can afford, I would love to be able to start bringing people into the fold. Bringing someone in to do my programming, bringing someone in to do my rigging and animation, bring someone in to do my importation or level design, and then wear as many hats as I can to save money. So for some games I'm going to be doing, they're going to be so small that I'm going to give them out for free, just for more published games. So if you release a game, it's published. So you're going to be like, hey, here's my website, and here is my 10 released games. 9 of these are free. Might of the Mountain is my paid game. So I'm going to have a section for little mini games that are kind of fun, and then I'm going to have a section for my premium games that are paid. So you can go to my shop and buy Might of the Mountain. You can go to my shop and buy, Anguish, the next game I'll be working on, because there's another game I have planned that's going to be my premium game. For what I'm going to do after Might of the Mountain. All right, guys. Well, it doesn't seem like we really have too many other questions. So I want to thank you guys for all watching live on Twitch. And for those of you who are checking out the video on YouTube, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff you can do on YouTube. I'm still getting used to saying that kind of thing. But unless there are unforeseen events, you can catch the show live Saturdays at 9 p.m. Central. Let us all keep forging our paths into game development. Catch you next time on DevForge Podcast. Buy Nick's books. Buy Nick's books. Buy Nick's books. Buy Nick's books.